I take it as a pleasure to convey my regards and my gratitude to all the organizing committee and the board of governing bodies. It's indeed a pleasure to share my nascent research part that I have made an attempt towards organizational scripts on one hand, and transactional scripts. I'm to say borrowing the concept of scripts from transactional analysis and attribution theory from organizational behavior and how it has got an impact with the organization culture. I would be happy if there are any questions in between. We would take it, I would request you to park it in the chat box and I would take it towards the end. But in case the curious child in you does not resist, I will be happy to share it. Kindly unmute yourself and do, add in between, right? So with this, I would be happy to start my presentation. To begin with, the first slide that I'm going to talk about is in every workplace, when we are talking about individuals come together, and that is how the organizations are made. So in every workplace, individuals carry unconscious life scripts, the pattern of thinking, feeling, behaving. That is what their behavior is seen. That is where we talk about scripts that are deeply rooted in our early life decisions that shape our interactions, not only with us, but also with our others, maybe the seniors, the peers, and ultimately the management. Here gives a little subtle message where we talk about life scripts on one hand that influence the workplace behavior, and ultimately it starts reflecting in the decisions that the individuals take. It starts reflecting in the leadership styles and also the dynamics that takes place in the organization. With this, we move to the next slide where I talk about the dual lens. Here, when I'm talking about the dual lens, I'm talking about one hand, one part is TA and the other part is organizational behavior. While from TA, we understand why people behave the way they do, organizational behavior provides a broader framework to analyze how these behaviors interact and shape the organization culture in the end. Just as individuals operate through personal script, organizations, when people come together, they start evolving, or we talk about the organizational scripts, which in the form of beliefs, values, norms, rituals, which we call it as organization culture. It brings me to the next point, that is on culture shadows. When I'm talking about culture shadows, I'm talking about a concept. I would rather talk it as a lens where we are talking on one hand about light scripts and on the other hand about attribution theory and culture. This dual lens, when they're coming together, we are talking about an unconscious script that we start seeing in the organization. So if you look at the diagram that is presented in this particular slide, and if a particular employee who is climbed up the ladder and moved towards a position of a leader and is working from his script, unconscious light script, probably has an autocratic leadership style, has a lot of micromanagement tendencies. Thus, he will keep on putting things under the carpet, So unconscious light scripts towards a conflict avoidance style, I could say. I am okay, you are not okay kind of a light script. Whereas a person who is from a conscious leadership pattern, who believes in empowering his team, who believes in empowering leadership style, has small activities build a trust in his team. There are trust building actions, and thereby it is those difference of opinion that lead towards constructive conflict resolutions. So this is where I am, trying to bridge the gap between the unconscious light scripts and the conscious light scripts. With this, we move to the next part where it's beautifully depicted how the connection is moving from the light scripts towards the attribution. In this, I would like to narrate it with the example of what is attribution here. So, TA, we are all aware, the script part, it's an unconscious life plan made in early childhood and influences how individuals interpret experiences. But when we are coming to attribution theory, it's yet another powerful concept of organizational behavior where it explores how people explain the cause of their behavior and events. It's right from the childhood that we see this habit, uh, in the child, I mean to say, during the childhood, during the early school days. That is how I would like to connect it there. Whether it is the internal trait that the individual has, or it is the external blame game or an external situation that you would like to put it. I will take it more with an example. And if you look at the diagram that I would like to depict, it is a bucket. Uh, so if you look at this particular bucket, it is having three different holes. Now this is where the intersection is happening. And if you look at it, on one hand, the person is saying, I'm not good enough, where the whole blame is on self. So even if the team is not able to perform, he starts thinking that it's he who is not able to perform well. So he takes all the attribution towards his self. The script is more towards him. That is an internal attribution. Can't be trusted. Comes with the script that I am okay, but others are not okay. So attribute towards the mistakes of the others, maybe towards the laziness of the others, or maybe towards their not so good attitude towards their work, and so on and so forth. And some with I must always please is having a different kind of an attribution where it is avoiding the attribution in all. So when we talk about attribution, we are talking about internal, external, and there are others where we talk about distinctiveness, consensus, and consistency. So I hope so far so good.
Yeah, slight audio
Hello.
disturbance is there, ma'am. Very slight audio disturbance. Yeah.
Sorry, ma'am.
Can you hear us? Slight audio disturbance is there. In between, your voice is breaking.
Maybe the connection today is a little off.
Yeah, connection looks a little
But
feeble.
otherwise,
Yeah.
slides and all are going good.
Yeah, slides are going good. Maybe you
Oh,
can pause and ask the team also, like they can respond in the
mm,
chat box.
Yeah, we can hear well. Could you
Yeah.
please explain the
okay. I can.
please?
Oh, fair.
I must always please
Okay.
avoiding.
I continue, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I go ahead. So the bucket part is clear, and we now move ahead from there. Okay. I will switch off the camera so better connected. Uh, Moving on to the next example here, to give a little more fair idea, it's about internalizing the blame and externalizing the blame. So how this, in this particular slide, it would be clear that how the script is shaping the attribute, and thereby it's giving a culture of internal or external blame game in the organization. With this, we come to the next slide where I'm going to talk about three different examples that I was mentioning about. And to make it more simple, I have used the word as internal, external. I have used the word stable, unstable. I've used the word controllable, uncontrollable. And I have used the word, and all this theory I have taken from Fritz Heider and Kelly. This particular slide, if you look, there are three important points mentioned. It's how individuals interpret events and assign the causes to behaviors of their own as well as others. When it is internal and external attribution, as I already mentioned, internal attribution is the cause due to the person, and external attribution is the cause due to the situation, right? When we talk about stable and unstable, An example first would help you understand this better. If it is an internal stable attribution, then it is an example like uh, I am just not good at sales. Maths is just not my cup of tea. So all this is a part of internal stable attribution. Whereas when we talk about an unstable attribution, it could be the market was slow this quarter. So this is the blame is altogether shifted to the market. There is no talk about the efforts taken by that particular individual. Similarly, a student would say, "I did well, but this question paper was out of syllabus." So this is a unstable attribution. Unstable external, I could call it. And last is controllable versus uncontrollable individual, and what is not within the control of the individual. So here the example could be the client's presentation went well, but he did not anticipate so many questions coming. Whereas when we talk about uncontrollable, it could be the deal did not go through well because the client company froze all the budgets. It was maybe due to the Trump's policy, or it may be due to the Trump's tariff policies and things like that. So these are all uncontrollable business environment factors. With this, we move to the next slide, where we are talking about now. One part we are done with, that is scripts and attribution, and now start reflecting on the organization culture. Uh, this is a very interesting slide, I would say, where I would uh, bring it up with a small uh, concept from the books which talk about how culture can be explained. When we talk about culture, culture is coming from very, very different, varied places, you know. And again, relating it from organizational behavior, the OB framework of Edgar Schein and Dylan Kennedy very beautifully have defined 6 different characteristics of culture. In fact, here I would also like to thank Jimon sir and Sunil Acharya sir for already taking some part of culture and organization, and it makes my job very easier. Where I've just come to the niche part of culture with this 6 characteristics that I'm going to talk on. So the first I'm going to talk is about how the culture is embedded. So not taking it from the books, this is my explanation of culture. It is the unseen silk thread that is woven in the organization where people feel to contribute or not contribute in the right sense, but uh, give their best where ethics is also present. So when we talk about an initial culture, it starts with a uniform, but uh, uh, it starts getting formed, but may not be well defined. Slowly and gradually, when people come together, they embed their value systems, they start integrating into daily practices. That is where the transmission is seen, and that transmission is then passed on to the next generation after generation through stories. But as we see, while we're on the journey, there are a lot of experiences, there are a lot of hurdles, and there are people who coach, who mentor, and there is a transmission that takes place where, again, a sense of innovation, sense of trust, sense of holding each other hand, coming together, collaborating together, empowering them, and finally we see an evolved culture in the organization. Connecting this part to the organizational scripts are recurring behavioral patterns, shared mental models, and is institutionalized responses that form a part of the unwritten code of how things work in an organization. This is what I've also written on the slide because I sincerely feel that when we talk of different examples, when we name a particular company, when we stand together and we talk about a particular organization, we are able to connect. Maybe we have not worked with that organization, but we are all able to come on the same page because this is what we start believing. And this, I would like to take it further on with 6 different examples of 6 different Indian companies, one by one. So to begin with, I will just take one and two more slides where I talk about how organizational scripts become a part of the culture, because either the organization, that means the management, the people who are working there, reinforce the behavior where they internalize certain messages that they receive, and they start they start challenging them, where they again have their set of scripts which match with the others, and that is where they internalize, and that is what starts coming up into a good culture or starts becoming a otherwise culture in the organization. Now I take this moment to define the organization culture. And it's a very interesting image that I got, a bunch of keys. So all these things form a culture. Some organizations take one key and make that as their source of culture. So indirectly, organization culture is the shared set of values, beliefs, norms, and practices that shape how people behave in an organization. It acts as an internal social control system that forms the personality of the organization at large. Uh, this a particular word, that is personality of the organization, indirectly when people talk about employer branding in the organization, people fall for certain brands in the organization, is because of these 6 pointers that we are going to dwell on and take one by one. In a nutshell, if I could just take a minute to talk about what I mean by shared values and beliefs, it is the common principles that unite a community. Norms, when I talk about, it is that particular thread that guides the social interaction. So it is that strong boundary, that nomenclature that helps them behave in a particular set of actions. Symbols and language, tools for communicating that set as an identity. And it's a very interesting example of Amul, utterly butterly the delicious, that I would be talking about. Rituals and ceremonies, that is formalized events that reinforce social bonds, certain rituals that the organizations hold year on year, and that is how they are known for that particular custom. Stories and myths, that is the narratives that convey cultural wisdom and history. And last but not the least, the assumptions and unwritten rules that shape the social conduct, right? With this, we move on to the next part, where we are going to talk about how scripts in the workplace, a collective scripting is beginning, and we are going to take it forward with examples from the organization. The first, I would like to take the example of Ratan Tata, that is Tata Organization. Ratan Tata sir's leadership style embodies humility and long-term thinking. During 2000 terror attacks at Taj Mumbai, Tata Group ensured all affected employees and families were supported going beyond insurance policies. This reflects a constructive organizational script of people matter and how they're responsible beyond business. Now, if you look at this particular thing that I just read from the slide, you will be able to connect with me that how important it is to have a strong ethical value. Employee dignity is respected. And when we talk about the attribution part here, it is a shared attribution where it is driven through the value systems in the organization. So you would agree with me that people swear by certain organizations. And Ratan Tata sir has created that culture that is flowing down not only at one organization, but you see majority of it running across the Tata group. With this, we move to the next slide, where we talk about norms and behavioral expectations. Here I'm taking the example of Zomato. Now, Zomato, this is specifically related to the time when the CEO was Dipinder Goyal. And one of the pointers that I really liked about was that people attributed the lack of personal resilience and a system of showing up to internal attributions rather than having a blame game. Because the script that was seen running in the organization was work harder to be seen. So you again connect it with the individual script. So that is why like-minded people have come together, made an organization such that the people who had this belief that don't rest, continue to work harder. You will see that that became the norm of the organization, such that they only attracted those kind of people that help them encourage fast decision making and experimenting. So much so that Zomato has come up with variety of products, and you see that it is not a single person who is behind it. It is a value driven by one person, but it is the team efforts that have come together, and the nomenclature, the set norms or the scope of that particular organization is all set. Moving on to the symbols and language, one of my most favorite example I'm talking about is Utterly Butterly Delicious, the Amul girl. Now, when we talk about Amul, I would rather give the credit to Mr. Verghese Kurian sir, who was a visionary, who started this idea as a responsibility to uplift the woman in that particular place, Anand. But it was purely a shared responsibility, and again, a value driven. So much so that the community focus became so much high that the only thing that worked wonders for that particular community was they started helping each other, such that ages, it's not years, it's ages together, the organization is still working smoothly on the same concept, and the language is of minimal hierarchy. There is no blame game. You can see it running in the organizations like Mumbai Dabawalas. You could see the similar kind working in Lijjat Papads. And I think the whole concept works on a collegial model of organizational behavior, where it is more towards partnership, more towards shared responsibility, it's more towards a value driven, it's more toward the community at large that we really see in this particular thing. We are coming towards the second last particular thing, where we are talking about the rituals. Rituals and ceremonies, though it is a part and parcel of majority of the organization, but it is in a very, very subtle way. So if you look at majority of the banks, I've specifically taken HDFC here an example, but if you look at majority of the banks, they have a very, very strong language. It is by default, because it is more towards target, it's more towards performance, it is more towards taking care of the market conditions. And there are certain times when it is an external attribution coming in place. And hence, in this particular thing, instead of talking about rather individual capability, I would rather give it to the expectations of the markets. So in this case, also the ritual that is set by the HDFC was more towards a disciplined culture, where we are talking about the individuals who had a try hard, or an individuals who have a be strong kind of personalities are more attracted, who come together towards a target oriented, a performance focused, and a very, very autocratic style of leadership. And thus the rituals go on moving from one generation to the other generation. And that is why you would see that years on years, HDFC is still in the top three positions, because that is where the culture rubs of rituals, of playing high in the market. And now towards stories and myths. One another favorite example of Asian Paints. Asian Paints is one such organization which is known across for lesser attrition rate. This is the organization which is at the same time talking more of an employer friendly, at the same time tech driven. That is where it gives voice to its own employees. This is the organization where people believe of taking the onus. They are the most responsible people, not only when it comes to self, but also when it comes to the team. They come together and they start working, thus creating a culture of collaboration. So people who go to the market attract those kind of people who believe in being responsible, who believe that it's okay to start slow, it's okay to start on a lower package, but it's good to contribute in the spirit. Another good point of Asian Paints, which is not quoted in many places, is that they give preference to the people. So even if, let's say, it comes for a campus recruitment to certain organization, certain institutes, it will make it a point that the students they have picked up, they will place in their hometown. Thus, this is one organization which gives a lot of importance to vernacular language. And that is what the story it creates, thus creating a strong sense of security and identity, bursting the myths of that it is not innovation driven and things like that. Asian Paints is one such organization that has been inspired by biological students, students pursuing biology, and with the help of water resisting on the lotus plant, created a paint like that in the market. So that is the kind of innovative stories that Asian Paints believe in. And with this, we come towards the last point of the culture, that is underlining assumptions and unwritten rules. Here, I would like to take the example of Infosys. In focus, Narayan Murthy sir, we have known Sir, and in fact, for almost all good reasons. But yes, last year also for a controversy of working for more than 70 plus hours in the industry. When we talk about such things, it is towards the Be Perfect driver that is actually there with Narayan Murthy Sir, and it's also reflected in the kind of people it attracts, the kind of people it gives opportunity to work with. Though Be Perfect Driver could be seen in the organization, but it is also an organization which believes in process. It believes in a performance. It believes in having an attribution where planning is very, very important. And each and every time they have a failure or they're having not so good moments, it is analyzed to the T of it. So it is this unwritten rule of discipline, integrity that is seen working in the organization. The unwritten code of integrity, it is where Sir would enter in. Emphasis is very much in Pune, and it has a very beautiful culture of discipline, integrity, and thus marching excellence year on year. With all such different examples, I would now bring in this particular chart that helps us understand the interplay. So whatever I've just spoken in examples in detail, if you look at this particular slide, where I'm talking about shared values, I am talking about collective attribution. Script we see as responsible. So here responsible is all the people who are more responsible are attracted towards this organization, thus creating a collective attribution of shared values. And that is what Tata is all about. For all those who are working with Tata Group and are having people from Tata Group would agree with me that it has got again a lowest attrition rate. People work for years and years and also bring in their next generation to work with such a group. Talking about norms, norms is that internal blame game prone. So here, if you look at it, Zomato, we will see that don't show up weakness is one such thing. That is the norm that they have set. When we talk about Amul, we talk about the language that they have of shared attribution. We rise together, and that has been seen in all the Amul ads. How the ladies from the village collectively come together, and it is also part of a storytelling that we see running in that particular organization. Rituals. When we talk about HDFC, of course, I've taken the pre-2020 period where I've talked about performance driven. And even today, for that matter, it is among the top three. But yes, the performance appraisal is really taken in the right spirit. And that is one such thing that makes the organizational script very set aside. People who do not have a performance driven attitude are not there in that organization. They are given the pink slips, and that is again a part of the rituals. Assumptions, where we talk about emphasis in one, where the internal attribution itself is discipline. That is where it gives rise to Be Perfect drivers. and structures that create a lot of discipline in the organization. And last but not the least, when I talk about stability and innovation, an organization like Asian Paints, which talks about balanced attribution, but think smart, be responsible, helps us understand that how stability, or rather how the innovation takes place in this particular organization. So, with this, I'm coming to the word decoding the workplace culture, where I personally believe that organizations who have uh, a very emotionally intelligent leaders, or rather, I would say the people who understand empathy and sympathy in the true sense, who give a lot of ears to their employees, who believe in a constructive feedback, are the organizations that actually shape not only the people but also create cultures where employees feel like coming together and Uh, I, I, I will take all the questions towards the end. So conscious recognition is a part of such organizations. But on the other hand, if you see that failing to align the individual growth, where people do not feel even secured in that particular organization, where people feel that it's a very toxic culture, where there is a lot of blame game going on in the organizations. This is the organization that you will see that it will collapse in some time or the other. So this is where decoding the organizational culture comes in hand when we understand a little more in detail about the attribution patterns of the individual. To conclude my presentation, and I would rather talk about how this integration matters. It is understanding the scripts that help us decode why individuals behave they do, understanding attribution theory that helps us understand why individuals behave the way they behave, and finally the culture, that is the individual patterns that gets reinforced, normalized, and challenged collectively. So you see an unseen thread that is running between the individual scripts to individual attribution to organizational scripts, and lastly to the organization culture. So with this, I thank you all. And now I'm open to questions and rather your insights, because this is a very, very nascent work that I've done uh, and presented my thought, I would rather say. And now I would look forward to your questions. I would rather say insights, your comments, and collectively we could bring in something more interesting. So thank you for your patience hearing and open to questions now.
Thank you, ma'am. Questions, please.